Welcome back, everyone, to another interview from the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by freshman on the Boston University women's lacrosse team, Alex Burns. Alex, thank you so much for coming on today, and how is everything going?
Oh, thank you for having me, Matthew. I'm good. I'm good. We got done. This is our second day in classes. So I got all done with practice and class, and now I'm here to answer some questions. So it's gonna be fun.
Awesome, awesome. How's the spring semester going for you so far? It's probably been a bit easy because it's probably syllabus week, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. So it's been pretty easy. Yesterday was our first day of classes and today was our second. So it's been smooth sailing and I'm just kind of getting like kind of adjusted to my new class schedule. However, we're like in our second week of preseason, so we're going pretty hard with like our workouts and everything. But school has been good. The balance with school and lacrosse our spring season has been it's been pretty good
That's
lately.
good to hear. That's good to hear.
Mhm.
Now, overall, how has your freshman year been going for you, both on and off the field at BU? Have you made any new friends? Like, what's that been like, I guess?
Yeah, it's been a great experience. I mean, BU is like it's just been like the best and like from like a growing aspect it's been amazing. I thought I would have like a kind of a rough time since kind of like coming here, just like the transition from Ohio to Boston. But like my brother's on the men's lacrosse team, so having him here is really helpful. And like I've been able to lean on him, my teammates. I've made so many great connections with my teammates and also like the guys team as well and other athletes like hockey or some soccer girls. So it's within like the whole athlete community here. I've made a lot of new like connections, which has just been great. I've loved my freshman year so far. Like it's definitely Boston is like so fun and I've gained so many new experiences since being here. So I really can't complain. Like I've grown so much as a person since coming here. So like my freshman year is it's so memorable for sure.
That's so cool to hear that your brother's on the men's team. I didn't know that. It must be nice to have some piece of home away from home, if that makes
Definitely.
sense.
Definitely. I see him every single day, whether I want to or not. So but having him here it's been amazing. Like, yeah, he's like such a support system.
Does he give you a hard time when you see him like out and about on campus, or does he try to pretend not to know who you are?
Oh, I mean, like, well, he needs me to swipe into our dining hall. So when he wants food, he knows who to call. But no, whenever I see him, it's always like, even though we see each other every day, like I'll see him either walking in from practice and he's walking out or like vice versa. It's great because like we'll just catch up on like something new that day. So we love to see each other. But yeah, he sees me quite enough that sometimes he usually just doesn't really want to see me.
No, no. Anyone that has a sibling understands that feeling. Sometimes,
Yeah,
like, I've seen you enough today. I need to just be by myself, if that makes sense.
exactly. Exactly, for sure.
Now, how would you evaluate your team's performance, I guess? Let's get to the lacrosse side of things for what you've been up to. So, how would you evaluate your team's performance during fall ball this semester, and how do you hope it will translate to the spring season coming up in a few weeks?
Yeah, we had like a great fall semester from like a growth wise. We were able to kind of grow upon like last year's season as well. And we had the opportunity to play in our fall ball season teams that we aren't going to see the spring season, such as Harvard. So we went over and played Harvard in our first scrimmage, and that was so cool to go and play them on their own turf. And then we also had the opportunity to play against teams that we will be seeing in the spring, such as like Fairfield. And our game against Fairfield was very close. So we kind of got like a glimpse of what it's going to be like. But from like a team aspect, we worked really, really hard this past fall, physically and mentally. We were, just we hit the gun or we hit the field running and film and everything. We learned so much and we all grew together, which is like really important and it is paying off now. Like coming back from preseason, like we are just building off of everything that we did in the fall because we worked so hard in the fall. So I say like our fall was very successful from like a growth aspect, and I just can't wait to see everything that we learned in the fall translate to how we play in the spring, which will be good.
Now, what has been like the biggest change between high school lacrosse compared to college, and have you had to make any adjustments because of that?
I mean, let me tell you, there's a lot like that differentiates between high school and college, and I'd have to say like as a whole, broad an aspect, like everything. All the college lacrosse players are, bigger, stronger, faster. The tempo of the game is a lot faster. Like we did not scrap in Ohio like we do in college. It's a huge change. And I had like my first practice here actually at BU. I was guarding one of our senior attackers and she totally just wrecked me. Like fell so hard to the ground. We laughed about it later in the locker room, but like it was a wake up call for sure. I was like, wow, like welcome to college lacrosse. It's a lot quicker and a lot like more physically demanding, but that's what I love about it is it's just so much more competitive and it like fuels you with like a different adrenaline than high school lacrosse did, especially in Ohio.
Yeah, for sure. Hey,
Mhm.
I would say like I would rather get my ankles broken by a teammate in practice versus like
Yeah.
in a big game. So that's the way I'll look at it. So it's
Oh
good that
yeah.
you laughed about it though.
It was good. It was definitely like I was like, oh my God. I was up and then I was down so quick. And it was literally my first play in like college lacrosse. And of course I fell, but rather during that time than in a huge game against like Boston College or something.
Exactly, exactly. Or I remember a coach once told me fall is for the freshmen and spring is for the seniors. So like fall ball is to try to get the freshmen ready for the upcoming season, and
Oh
then when
yeah.
spring comes around, it's for try to play for the seniors to make sure they end off their collegiate careers on a positive note. So I always love that quote. That's always what I think during fall ball. It's like it's for the freshmen. So
So true. It is so true.
what's been like the biggest improvement you've made to your game so far in college?
I would have to say, I mean, going back to like the whole strength thing, I think now, especially in like in Ohio, as a defender, I hardly had to like make contact and actually touch the attackers that I was playing against. However, here we pride ourselves and prioritize contact defensively so much. So I have really had to, I'd say, like hit the weight room super hard and prioritize my strength the most, and especially my speed because everything at the college level is so elevated. So these attackers in college are just so much bigger. So being able to go and get a good lift in and like prioritize my strength is definitely something that I've had to change and work on the most since being in college.
What's it been like building chemistry with your new teammates, especially the freshman class?
It is, I mean, like effortless. I think like our chemistry, especially my chemistry with my teammates within my class, like it's just so natural. And I think that's also goes about how like my coach, I give her so much credit for how she was able to like recruit all of us because we all are so similar like personalities, which just makes our chemistry building just so effortless and natural. And I'm really grateful for that. But like these my teammates are my best friends in the entire world. And I've never met like I say funnier and more caring and like compassionate individuals. But I like make the joke too, because we are so similar, that like to my parents back at home, I'm like, wow, I really thought I was funny back in high school, but like coming here, like they are the funniest people I've ever met. Like they're thinking like 5 steps ahead and like jokes. And I'm just like, how did they even think of that? Like that was humorous. That was funny. But it's in everything. It's like it's just chemistry is so effortless and so nice.
Any jokes that you can share on the podcast? Are they not appropriate, I imagine?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think on like we're very like quick, like we're very witty team.
Hmm.
So it would have to it's usually in like circumstances where something happens or like in our group meet if something happens and someone will say something funny. It's like, oh, that was you. I always catch myself just dying laughing at my phone because of something that we said in the group meet. So I couldn't think of like any like one liners, but if you knew this circumstance and you like heard them
Yeah,
say a
yeah,
joke,
I
you
get
would
that.
laugh pretty hard too. Yeah.
Who's the funniest teammate you have, you think?
Oh, let me think. I mean, everybody has their moments, but there is Alex Catone. She's like one of my closest teammates. Yeah, I think like the best laughs that you have with someone are the ones where you just keep going back and forth and back and forth. And we have banters. Like 2 days ago when we got back to campus, we had to stay in a hotel together in a hotel room, and we were so excited because we knew that like the room would just be filled with laughter like 24/7. It was so she is so funny and like creative, and I love
Yeah,
it. So definitely
that's
her.
good. That's good. That's good. Well, you need to have those type of moments. I feel like it helps build team chemistry, makes the team much closer as well. I would always
Uh-huh.
say the teammates that I found the funniest were like someone that's like sarcastic. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's any of those type of humor that you have with
Yeah.
any of your teammates, but that those teammates were the ones that always made me laugh the most.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
Now, obviously, let's talk about your coach. So, what's it been like being coached by Coach Morton? What makes her such a great coach from your perspective, and how is she different from some of the other coaches that you've had in the past?
Yeah. So I think the best thing about her is like she is just so personable. And for her to we have such a like a familial feeling within our team and like our environment, our community here. And she has just it's not it's like I don't even view her really as a coach. She's kind of like a mother in like a sense. And like she is just she cares more like about the mental, like she really prioritizes like family and like your own personal well-being. And I think that just speaks volumes to me as like the person that she is. Like she brings her kids and her family around us so much. Like her kids come to practice and like it really makes everyone feel like less like a team and more of like a family, which I love. And I think I like accredit this so much to her, especially like my freshman years. She has helped me recognize my strength as like a person. And there well like I could not imagine, like especially like on like conditioning stuff, like I couldn't imagine like running as far as I did on the beep test or like doing all these hard conditionings. But her ability to like challenge us and also coach us through this like hardship and adversity that we have to be able to do in order to like perform at this high level is just like moving, because she has helped me find so much inner strength. And I credit her so much for that, because it's hard, like mentally it can be hard for a lot of players, but having her there coaching you like aside is just it's amazing. And she's so like she's the best. You can talk to her about anything. Is she just it, especially being so far from home like in Ohio, having her and like the type of coach that she is has just made things a lot easier.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for the upcoming year?
Yeah, so we are really just looking to, I mean, we get out there and we battle and we work so hard every single day, and we're hoping that that reflects in our spring season and every game. So we're, looking for as many wins as we can, and we're a hardworking team, so I have no doubt in my mind that we will win a lot of games. And then there's always a thought in our back of like our mind, the big goal of like the Patriot League championship. I mean, we're all striving for that goal. It's huge. So definitely a Patriot League championship in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, how excited are you to play in the Patriot League? Because I'm curious, like, how much you knew about the conference before you got recruited. And obviously, there's
Mm-hmm.
some really good teams in that conference, like Navy, Loyola, just to name a couple.
Yeah.
But how excited are you, I guess, to be a part of that conference and play some of those top end teams, like Navy, Loyola, Army, Holy
Yeah.
Cross. It's gonna be a
So
lot of fun.
it's gonna be so much fun, especially like the team like I Navy's on the rise. They are like a team that we should definitely be looked out for. I mean, they're a great team. And so just knowing that we get to play Army, Navy, Loyola, all those good teams is like so exciting, because it gives you something to like look forward to and work towards. And you're playing against some of the best girls in the country, especially like girls like Chase Boyle on Loyola. Like they are like you can like kind of fangirl over them, but you also know that you have to play them later on. But I think it just like the Patriot League is a great conference, and a lot of people might sleep over it because a lot of people are like looking at like Big Ten and the ACC. But I mean, there's like three of the biggest teams. There's huge teams in our conference, and I'm really excited to see our matchups against them, because I think they'll be really good.
Yeah, no, like you said, obviously what makes the Patriot League special is teams like Navy and Loyal, which I think is what most of the country talks about, those two teams. But I feel like the other teams get very overlooked sometimes. Like Army's a really good team. I would argue that Duffy's one of the best attackers in the country, and
Yeah.
she's on that team. Obviously, Holy Cross is a team on the rise, I feel like, and I feel like your team has given a lot of top end teams good games as well. So it's a very fun, competitive conference, and I think it's definitely a conference that is on the rise and is going to get better as each season goes on.
For sure.
Now, one thing I also want to ask you was you were talking about just sort of the adjustments you've had to make on the lacrosse end of things, but what's it been like balancing lacrosse and academics in college, and how have you learned to do that?
Yeah. Well, I think it really honestly, like, I'm grateful enough to n I've just been kind of dealt like a good hand. I think like my major isn't very too demanding. Like it's still challenging because BU is obviously like a very academically rigorous school. However, it has been a great balance in like three of sorry, like four of my best friends on the team. We had our first semester like a lot of our classes together. So we would just like come from practice and go straight to our class together, or go straight to our class together and then come to practice together. Like it was, we all kind of did it together, which made stuff so much easier. However, finding a good schedule and like a good groove to get into has been, I think, the best thing that I did for myself, which is help me stay on top of schoolwork, but also prioritize like watching film and working out extra on the side and getting to lacrosse on time has been super easy because I got into that groove and that schedule. So yeah, it's been great. I have not run into any struggles because also like our academic advisor here that helps with women's lacrosse, she's the best. So she's just helped me in more ways than I can imagine.
So let's transition now and talk about the beginning of your career and sort of work all the way up to where you are now. So you're from Upper Arlington, Ohio, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Talk about growing up there. How'd you start playing lacrosse? I wish Abby was here because she would obviously have a great conversation about what it's like being a lacrosse player in Ohio.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, wow, I bleed black and gold. I'm like a golden bear at heart. UA was just the absolute best place to grow up in. Because and especially getting into lacrosse, like we the UA girls lacrosse is like historically known for being really good, especially in the state of Ohio, where and I was growing up in the era of their 4 year state champion, 4 or 5 or like six probably state year championship reign, where they just won back to back to back. And I'd have to say I was around like late elementary school, early middle school during this time, and it picked up traction within our community, obviously, because they just kept winning. And so that's when I really started to ease into lacrosse a lot more. At the time, I was like a huge soccer player. Soccer was like my first love. I loved the sport and everything that it did for me. However, when the traction of like UA girls lacrosse and how good they were started to pick up, that's like what piques my interest and got me into like the youth league and UA, and all my friends started to do it. So that like their success within like our high school and like in the state championship was is definitely what like got me into the sport of lacrosse for sure.
Did you have like a favorite player or team that you like to watch growing up? Was it just like your local high school team, or was it more of like Ohio State or maybe like another team in college that you like to watch?
Yeah. Well, that is like it's I would have to say it's our high school team because again, like at the time I really didn't start, I guess, like I don't even it was always kind of soccer for me in a sense. So I was a huge like soccer fan, but I remember going to like our youth clinics in high school, like when I was in middle school, and Upper Arlington would host like a youth clinic, and all the like high school girls, like the varsity athletes, would be working the clinic, and I was just in awe. I was like fangirling over them. It was the best. And even when I got to high school, like a freshman, and there was a senior, I'll shout her out, Annie Hargrave. She plays at Ohio State right now. But she was amazing, and she was like my girl crush, and she was just so fun to watch. So, but like growing up, I didn't really have like a favorite team or like a favorite player. However, when I got into it though, in later high school, I started watching more of like UNC, Maryland, Boston College, and then it became like Charlotte North. I like
Hmm.
2 summers ago, I went to she was at like one of our summer tournaments, and I went up to her with like a Sharpie in my hand, and it was like after a game, so my forehead was all sweaty. And I went up to her and I like crouched down on my knees because she was signing autographs, and I was like, sign my forehead, like please sign my forehead. And I was so sweaty, like the Sharpie barely even like stayed on my head. But and she was like, I'm sorry, it's like not staying on your head. And I was like, it's okay, it's the thought that counts. Like, you're the goat. Thank you so much. And she was terrified of me. But I'd say she was so freaking cool to watch.
Yeah. Do you
So
have like a picture of like the forehead signature at all?
I definitely do. I could for sure find that if you wanted me to.
Oh, we
It was
definitely got to put that in the clip. That's for sure to
oh
promote this
I will. It
episode.
was like a it was I actually have a video of it. So but she was a little freaked out because I like this high school girls walking up to her as she's signing like paper autographs for young kids, and I was like, sign my forehead, like please, you
Yeah.
have no idea what this means to me. But
You
yeah,
weren't
it
able
was
to find any paper? They didn't have it around?
there was paper, but I wanted it like physically on my body. And
Okay.
then we didn't even wash it off for our next game. Like we went in, and it was me and like a couple of my other teammates that did. We all got our signatures on our forehead, and we went into the next game with them on. And I was convinced that it was going to make me play so good.
Did it work?
No,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's a thought that counts.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I feel like I'm more of a picture guy because I feel like that lasts longer than an autograph and it's more like personable. So, but I
Uh-huh.
feel like if I couldn't, that's what I would do if I couldn't find like a piece of paper for an autograph. But
Yeah.
they're probably all over the press section. So there's so much paper in the press box. So that's usually like anybody that wants to get an autograph, that's where you can find paper. So that'll
Oh
be my
yeah.
sort of PSA for this episode.
Yeah. I have like a video, actually like a Snapchat video of her signing my forehead, and then like we took photos for sure. It was a
Nice.
memorable moment. So I'll get those to you.
And now you're playing for her biggest rival's school, so full
I
circle
know.
moment.
So it's crazy. They're right down the road. So I'm just it was
hmm
it, it's super cool.
Now, let's talk a little about your high school lacrosse experience with UA. So, what was that like for you? What's like your favorite memory from your time there when you look back on it
Mhm.
now?
Yeah. I mean, like playing at UA, I like couldn't really have asked for a better situation, a better school to grow up and play for. We were like, especially being coached by like some of the best in the Midwest, and being like the best team in the Midwest for a majority of my time there. It was like the best experience ever, and I loved every bit of it. We like in my 4 years there, I went to the state championship 3 times. I won it once. I was a runner up twice, and we like earned multiple accolades as a team, and me myself as like an individual. Um, so it was the best. I can't speak highly enough of that program and everything that it did for me. My best friends I was given to me from that program, and I mean, just my favorite moment in my entire life. Like yesterday, actually in class, one of my professors asked me, she was like, "What was the happiest moment of your life?" And I said, winning my lacrosse state championship my junior year of high school, because that happiness has just been so unmatched, and the feeling that it gave me, and the sense of community that it gave me and my teammates, like it's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Now, you also play club lacrosse for Impact. What was that experience like for you, and how do you think your club sort of lacrosse days helped prepare you for college?
Yeah. I Club lacrosse was I mean it was honestly just like it was funny because it was like a bunch of Ohio girls coming out to the East Coast and like battling it out against these good teams like Yellow Jackets or Skywalkers or CT Grizzlies. But it was a great experience, and I also had such an amazing recruiter and coach, Jill Byers. I'll give her like a shout out. She has by far put Ohio girls on the map for college schools. And she is like one of the top reasons that I'm here at BU today, because she just helped me so much. And her coaching and her guidance was like just, it was out of this world. It was amazing. And she's done so much. And so playing for her in Impact was great, and she was really able to like a bunch of the coaches at Impact are actually the like some of the Ohio State women's lacrosse players. So I was getting recruited, but I was also like integrated into like I met all of them, and they were like opening me up to like new experiences and all of their teammates at other schools. So playing at Impact really broadened and opened my ways into like the lacrosse world. And yeah, I loved it. It was so fun. My teammates were really fun. it was the best.
Now, last lacrosse question before we get into the non-lacrosse segment. How does someone from Ohio decide to go to BU? What was your recruiting process like, and what made that school stand out to you versus some of the other ones you might have looked at?
Yeah, I actually really didn't like I had never really heard of BU before the whole recruiting process in lacrosse. But they took a chance on me by asking me to come on unofficial. And I came out here and I like it was instant. Like I loved it. The visit and everything and like the way that Moore and the entire team made me feel. I never thought that I could consider a place outside of Ohio as like home, but the second that I stepped here on campus, it was like the just this feeling of warmth that like consumed me. And I think again, like back to Jill Byers and the whole like recruiting process, it was it was long for me. I wasn't one of like the tier one girls that committed within September or October. It kind of took me the tournaments within November, like the fall tournament era, to kind of get recognized. And then I committed later in like late January, early February. But for Jill to her like ability and her like belief to stick with me, like even after that first year was all committed, she was like, "Kid, I'm gonna get you committed. Like you're gonna go somewhere that you're gonna love." And to have her support and like have her feeling of like I know that she's in my corner was great. And her sights of me being here at BU were never wrong. And she got in contact with Mort. They got me out here for a visit, and from there it was like it was honestly like raps. Like they knew that I would come on here or come here and love it. So, and I did. And I once I got the offer, I told my parents, I was like, this is it. Like I know that this is the place. I have a feeling the way that the team made me feel, the way that Mort made me feel. Like this is kind of funny, but like from all my meetings with a coach, I got a little bit emotional in my meeting with Mort. Like she asked me like a personal question, and I just remember us kind of sitting there and like trying to like not cry, but I was just my tears were like just stuck in my eyes, and I was like, "Don't cry, like that's really embarrassing. Don't cry." But that I think that's when I knew because she was just so personable. I knew it was it was wraps from there.
Nice, nice. That's one of the better recruiting stories I've heard. So it's good to hear that you're in the right place too, and that your club coach had such a good impact to help you get there.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's transition now to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some non-lacrosse questions to get to know you more off the field. I'll answer some of these as well to make it a fun segment and a fun conversation too. So first one is, what is the best concert you've ever attended?
Ooh, I would have to say my junior year, it was I went with my best friend and we went to SZA, and it was her first date. It was her first concert date for like that tour of hers, and she like floated around in a boat. It was crazy, but it was so interesting. And I actually put that in like my meet to free or the like meet the freshman document that BU posted on our like Terry Lacrosse women's Instagram. I put that it was my favorite concert because like it was the best concert I
Yeah,
have ever
yeah.
been to.
I can't say I listen to her music too much, but
Oh,
I only know
Matthew, you
like
gotta
one
get on
song
it.
from
It's
like the
so
album
good.
where she sits on the plank in the ocean. I assume everyone
Uh-huh.
knows that one.
That's
So, um,
really
my
good.
favorite concert I ever went to was probably Blink-182. That was a really good show, so I'd go with
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay. Love that. That's good.
Now, what's been the most interesting thing you've read or seen recently?
Most interesting thing I've read or seen recently. I mean, hmm, I don't, well, okay. And this is not like a shout out to my team or anything, but it was a great book. So before we left for break, Moore instructed that we all read this book. I actually have it. Let me grab it. Besides all my like Netflix shows that I'm not gonna bore you with, she instructed that we read the Hard Hat book. And it says 21 ways to be a great teammate, and it's a true story about a young male who passed away on the field on the Cornell team like during a game, and I read it over break, and it was like it's so impactful, and it's just like it really broadens and deepens the meaning of like lacrosse, but also how to be a great teammate. And that I we came back to campus, and we were a lot of us were talking about it because it was a hard hitting story, but it was great, and it was such a great read. So
Mhm.
that's something interesting that I read recently.
That's good. That's a good book. I gotta check that out now.
Yeah.
Mine's also a book. I've been reading
Oh,
this book called October Sky. It's about a
okay.
NASA engineer from West Virginia who like worked his way up to become a rocket scientist from like humble beginnings in
Uh-huh.
Appalachia in like the 1950s, and they made a movie about it with Jake Gyllenhaal. But I just thought it was a really good story and a very inspirational story not to give up on your dreams and to sort of work hard at them, even if people find you
Yeah.
crazy. So it's something that I can somewhat relate to as well. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that book.
That's a great book. I feel like it's always the books that you kind of like least expect to be good to be the most hard hitting ones. Like when we were signed it, I was like, oh, I don't really know what this book is going to be about.
Hmm.
And I thought it was funny because like we had this award, we had the Hard Hat Award at Upper Arlington within our program, and I won it my junior year. And so, but then I read it, and it really broadened my perspective on everything. So I see what you're saying about that book. It's
Nice, nice.
really,
Well, we
mhm.
already asked you about who's the funniest player on your team, but who has the best off the field style on the BU women's lacrosse team besides yourself, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give some credit to myself. But let me think of style. I would probably have to say Ellie Stevenson. She's got great style. Or Kendall Sims. She's a fifth year. Gonna be, I mean, such an impact player for us this year, by the way. Everyone's gotta watch out for her. She's phenomenal. But she's in the business school, and her like outfits are always just so put together and so neat, and she just looks so civilized, and I am like my senior year, she's my style, I guess, guru. That's who I'm gonna take a lot of tips from, but I'd say Ellie Stevenson and Kendall Sims are very good.
Nice, nice. I think everyone who have had on from your team says L. Stevenson, so
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of the consensus answer.
Yep, she knows what she's doing.
Now, which player on your team would you want to be on a long road trip with? So if you had to be stuck like on an 8 hour road trip with only one of your teammates, who would you pick?
Oh gosh, let me think. I would have to say I'm trying to think of like the whole. Hmm. I'm gonna shout out my fellow Ohio teammate Susie McGowan on this one. Susie's another funny one. And can I like pack the car? Like, can I say like a bunch of people? Like, can we just like
I
fill
guess
the
it's
room?
up to you. There's no like rules for this segment, so
I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna give you like a full rundown. So I'm gonna put Susie front seat. I'm driving. Susie's passenger seat with me. I'm gonna say Eva Stagnaro behind me because she's got this like, she's the type of person that if she laughs, everyone else like laughs. Her laugh is like infectious. And then next to her, obviously Alex Catone. I need a good laugh. And then maybe in the back, shout out Izzy Monty. She's a real one. She's also really funny. So we're packing the car with that 8 hour road trip. It's gonna be a good time. But yeah, I'll say those four. They're good. It would be a fun trip. A really good one.
nice. A lot of laughs I expect as
Oh,
well.
I mean, what else can you do on an 8 hour road trip? Music gets boring pretty quick.
Well, my
So
whole thing is like you need someone who's funny. That's number one to make the time go by fast, but then also someone with a good playlist too, because that's important in a road trip as well. So I feel like those are the two
exactly.
big qualities. I feel like
Uh-huh.
for a plane ride, I would want someone that's quiet so I can just like sit next to someone and I don't need to talk to anybody. I can just like focus like on my
Oh
music or
yeah.
whatever. So it depends on car rides versus plane rides are a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, you sort of mentioned this before, but what is one show you can binge watch all day?
Oh my. Let me think. I'm currently on my Gossip Girl kick, so I'd have to say that one. But this is kind of weird. But my maybe actually I'll just stay with Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl for sure. It's really good. And
Mhm.
that might be a basic answer, but I would like all day, 24/7.
Unfortunately, Abby's not here, but she's a huge Gossip Girl fan, so you guys could have
Yeah.
had a fun conversation about that too. So,
Yeah. No, it's great. Maybe you can get into it. I recommend to everyone.
yeah, I've watched the first episode because one of my favorite bands, their song plays at the end of it.
Oh,
It's called The Gift. It's the episode when the guy from You like comes up,
uh-huh.
walks on the roof and like starts yelling at the other guy. I don't
Uh-huh.
know what the characters' names are, but you probably do. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that and then the song plays after that scene, and that's the only thing I know about Gossip Girl. So,
That's so funny. I honestly can't remember the first episode. I'm like on season 5. So
yeah.
I'm just pushing through, but I'm actually gonna go back and rewatch that now that you think about or now that you say
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, that song's from a band called Angels and Airwaves, one of my favorite groups ever, and
it. Uh-huh.
definitely a music recommendation for those listening. That's for sure. The song's called "The Gift" for those wondering as well. Um,
I'll check it out myself.
it's
Why
a
not?
good song. It's a long song, but it's really, really good in my opinion. So now, speaking of road trips, where is one place that you would love to travel to soon?
One place I'd love to travel to soon. I feel like everyone was on their like Europe summer like era this
Hmm.
past summer, and it kind of made me feel a little bit left out. So Europe, specifically, like I'd say Italy, anywhere in Italy for sure. I mean, I am fascinated with it by all the pictures that I've seen and everything. I would love to go to Italy soon.
Well, with the inauguration happening on Monday, I really want to go to Washington, D.C. I'm a big history nut,
Uh-huh.
and there's like all these museums with all the historical stuff, the monuments. It looks like a cool city to visit, so I'd love to visit there, hopefully soon.
I know. I was my like in 8th grade, we were supposed to do like the infamous Washington D.C. trip.
Yeah, we
However,
never did that in eighth
we
grade,
never
which,
did it either. We had COVID. We never did it.
yeah, yeah. Ours wasn't COVID. We just never did it for some reason.
Really?
So, and then the class the following year got to go to DC, and I
That
remember
is
being
so
so
annoying.
upset about that because I'm
Oh,
like, that's not fair.
it's so annoying. I know. The class before us, like the year before COVID, was like, you guys are gonna have so much fun. And then it was like March 8th or something when COVID got announced, and we were like 2 weeks off. But we had like already been planning to go to Washington, D.C. Like I did my roommates. It was gonna be so fun. And then we just never came back. And so I never got that experience. But hope everybody that goes to Washington, D.C. for an 8th grade or something, I hope they have a great time. Have a great time for me and my group
Yeah.
that never.
I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. Because I was in high school when COVID happened, early years of high school, and we were supposed to go to New York. And obviously that never happened. So that was a
Yeah.
little disappointing. So
Gosh,
I
it
get what
really
you're feeling with that as well.
ruined everything. It really put a dent in my plans. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I'll never forget there was this one teacher that was like, it's fine. Like, we'll be back soon. And that was like the
Yeah.
last infamous words because like we never went back that year after
Yeah.
that happened.
Oh, that's so. I remember like in 8th grade, like my science teacher is my favorite. We were actually in science class when we found out that we are gonna have 2 weeks off, and I was like, okay, like Mrs. Rolk, like I'll see you later. And then never saw her. And like I want to say 3 years later, like my junior year, I was like, wait, I'm just gonna go back and like say hi to Mrs. Rook and see how she is. And I went back and it was so funny because she literally hasn't seen me since like that day in March. And I
Hmm.
came back my junior year and I like a lot has changed and we laughed, but it was crazy. COVID was a crazy time.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know,
I hope it never happens again. I felt bad for the seniors in high school that their
uh,
whole graduation got completely destroyed from that. That's probably the worst year to graduate, in my opinion.
the the worst. Like imagine getting like emailed your diploma. I would hate that.
Or the drive-through one where it's like
Oh
honking and then they
yeah.
just throw it in like the passenger seat and that's it. That's like gotta be the
Oh,
lamest
that's
way to graduate after all that hard work.
yeah. I just can't even imagine. Or like all the senior spring breaks and everything. Wow. So
Yeah.
bad.
because it's like usually like March and April is when like the fun
Uh-huh.
stuff starts happening your senior year, and just to have like that taken away. But there is a debate that we have. Would you rather be the class of 2020 getting your like the fun part of senior year canceled, or the class of 2021 where you had to do like the weird sort of like hybrid learning for the
Yeah.
whole year? It's an interesting debate.
I mean, I don't even know. I was a freshman in high school when the class of 2021 thing was going on. So like going through that was I would say the class of 2020 because you still at least had like a partial
Yeah,
normal school.
exactly. Everything was just a little bit different. I agree with
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
But 2021 was like a time lapse. Like I don't remember anything
It
from
was
that
just the
year.
weirdest. It was just
Oh,
a weird year. It was just a weird year.
you were in school like maybe 2 days a week. It was strange. Super weird.
Now, one more question, non-lacrosse question is, if you weren't playing lacrosse at BU, what sport would you want to play at BU?
At BU, hockey.
Same.
The
I'm a big
hockey
hockey
girl,
fan, so
same, me as well. And they just played in TD Garden last night
I
in a
saw
beat
that. Tough loss though.
tough loss. What can I say? But like so much love for my girls still. But they it looked so like being they like look so cool. Like I fangirl over them so much. They had this like sick photographer come out and like the game day fits when you're like walking out of the
Yeah,
bus.
I wish that lacrosse had more of that. Hockey, it's great. Like they get to it's sort of like a fashion show right
Oh
before.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
especially in women's hockey, I feel like they embrace it a lot better than the men's team. Because the men's
Uh-huh.
team, it's just like same suit, and like you can
Yeah.
tell some of them don't want to get their photo taken. But
Uh-huh.
with some of the women's players, it's like these insane outfits, and like they totally embrace it. And I wish
I'll like
lacrosse did that more because it would
yeah,
help bring some of the personality out with some of the players on
exactly.
teams.
That's what I'm saying. Like in the some of the fits, I'll have to send you some, but some of the fits that like some of my friends had on the team totally ate. And they weren't even doing like BU stuff. Like this girl had like a Boston Bruins jersey on or
Yeah.
like a Celtics jacket. Like it was amazing. And I unfortunately couldn't go because I had class, but it like looked so fun and their team is just they're so cool. They are
Yeah.
so I'll say it.
Well, I'll give
So
a shout out to Alex Law on the women's lacrosse
yes,
team and women's hockey team. She might be
Lozzie
the coolest athlete
is my
ever,
girl.
playing for Team Canada lacrosse in the U20 World Championships and
She
winning a silver medal, but then also winning a gold medal, I think, for the U18 World Championships for Team Canada as well. Like that might be, she might be the coolest like lacrosse
Lozzie,
player in the country, in my opinion.
she has so much aura. She is like the it girl on campus. Lozzie is she's the best and sweetest person you'll ever meet. So shout out Lozzie, you're the best.
For me, obviously, men's hockey, just to play at Agganis would be super cool with all
Mhm.
those NHL players. I remember watching Macklin Celebrini last year. The guy was a stud. It must be crazy to be 17 years old, lighting it up in college against guys that are like 3, 4 years older than you are.
Uh,
So definitely BU for sure. And they get to, their bean pot is really cool as well. That's coming up in a month from, or a few weeks actually from
yeah,
now.
yeah,
And just like the playing at the Garden, that type of atmosphere is cool. But then also playing in the Hockey East Championship at the Garden is really cool. So yeah, I definitely want to be on that team. That's for sure. Probably like a backup goalie where I don't play, but I get to like do all the fun stuff. So that would be sort
yeah,
of what my role would be like.
yeah. They have their game against BC this Friday, so
Oh,
we're all
that's one of the coolest. That's one of the coolest games ever.
yeah. We are my for our official visit last year. Mort got all of like us recruits tickets to their BCBU game last year, and this was during like the Macklin celebrity versus like Will Smith.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it was freaking crazy, like such a moment, history in the making. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, I was at the Hockey East Championship game where it was BUBC at the
Uh huh.
Garden, and that
Uh huh.
was, I remember the fans going at one another. That was probably a lot of stuff I can't repeat on this podcast, but the fans were going at each other.
Oh
It was
gosh.
awesome. It was awesome. And to see some of those guys who are probably going to be NHL players for such a long time was super cool.
Yeah.
So, no,
Yeah.
shout out to shout. I'm a big hockey guy, so
Yeah.
that was awesome to watch that. And yeah, we'll see what happens this year. That's for sure. But
I know.
had the chance to interview one of the guys a couple of years ago, which was a lot of fun. So,
Oh really? That's so
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So Anyway, he was on Merrimack though at the time. Now he's at BU, so I should point that out. But
Oh wait, what's his name?
Matt Capone, he got drafted by
Okay.
Edmonton, and
Yeah.
he was a stud with Merrimack his sophomore
Uh-huh.
year, and I think he's now transferred to BU. So
Yeah.
cool to see him having success there. I hope.
Uh-huh. I've heard the name. Yeah, he's pretty good. The guy, they're all great. Like
Hmm.
I'm good friends with some of them, so they're definitely a group of guys, and they're super fun and super good at hockey. So go them.
Well, I guess we'll do a couple more questions. I guess one I want to ask you is what should be done to help grow the sport of women's lacrosse from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with the creation, obviously, of the new professional league, the WLL, I think that's a step in just the right direction. And the creation of like the four teams, especially Charlotte North's team in Boston, that will be like pivotal for women's lacrosse and growing the game the most. But I also think like just going women's lacrosse is not like popular in many areas, and I say like giving back to areas that it's not, you know, I guess like a highly played sport in is would be most beneficial. Like this past fall, my team and I volunteered at like with an organization called Harlem Lacrosse, where we went out for a day with Harvard's men's lacrosse and basically taught kids that don't really know how to lacrosse, like how to play lacrosse. We taught them to play lacrosse, and it was great to see like just new like just like their faces light up, and you could obviously tell, and like you were just watching them fall in love with the game in like a moment of time, which was super cool. I say getting involved a lot with organizations and like volunteer opportunities to help grow the game would be super beneficial.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Do you think it's growing in like somewhere like Ohio? Because I know Abby always tells me like
Yeah.
she had to travel super far to like get noticed by colleges, and that's something that some players don't have to do necessarily depending on where they're from. So I'm just curious if you've noticed the sport getting bigger there.
Yeah, I'd say it is for sure. And I mean, I got to give credit to the clubs in Columbus that are growing it, especially Impact with like Jill Byers. Like she is she's getting all of like these, Ohio girls committed to huge colleges like on the map. Like my sister's Impact Club team, like my sister's committed to FSU, and there's girls that are committed to like Ohio State on her team and UConn. Like all these well-known schools are helping bring a lot of awareness to not just Ohio, but like Midwest lacrosse in general, because I'd have to say like every single summer we would go out to the East Coast. I mean, that's where you want to get recognized. Like one of my best friends from high school moved out there for a recruiting summer. Like she stayed out there the entire summer because that is the place to get recruited. However, now that the game is becoming a lot more, I guess, well known in Ohio and the Midwest, it's become a lot easier to I guess be seen by big name colleges, and that's a lot of it is to be credited to clubs like Impact and like Lucky Lax and Resolute in that area.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, Alex, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your family members, mom, dad, teammates, former teammates, and who should we have on the podcast next?
Yeah. Shout I mean, obviously shout out my parents. That like me being able to attend this school would not be possible without them. They have put in so much hard work and dedication, and my mom has driven not only me but my three other siblings to every single state on the East Coast possible, countless times. So her and my dad have taken us to so many tournaments. So I obviously thank my parents and my families and everything. My siblings, Sam, my older brother who plays here, and Lauren and Ben, who are both also committed to playing college. We all like have just pushed each other and been huge support systems for each other. So for their countless like support means a lot to me. So I'll shout them out. And then also Abby, I wish Abby was here, but my two best friends are like my two best friends in the entire world are on her team at Louisville. So shout them out. And also I'll shout out Abby.
If you have
And
any Abby Cole stories, feel free to share them because we'll post a clip.
I mean, I don't even have any, just Abby Cole. I'd have to say Abby Cole's team my sophomore year when she was a junior when they beat us in the state championship. because of Maddie Paz's freaking 8 meter. Maddie's one of my good friends. She plays at Ohio State now, so I'll shout her out too. But it was a hard pill to swallow, but also like that after that summer, I just remember seeing they had this like saying, it was like NAKA, like New Albany kills all, and it was everywhere after they won. And we couldn't stand it. Like it was on the back of their cars. So when I would go to club practice and like one of the New Albany girls would roll and I'd see it. But like the UA New Albany rivalry was always hot. Even down to like my final days as a senior with against like my team in New Albany. But yeah, shout out the just that whole rivalry is kind of funny. But I'd have to say also my like teammates here at BU and the coaching staff here at BU, my assistants, I love them so much. Like Holly and Brittany are the best, just the nicest people you'll ever meet. More obviously, and then my teammates here at BU, they've seen me grow into just a completely different person in the best way possible, and they make every day worthwhile. So that is my shout out. And then for someone that you should have on next, um, a girl from like it's always resorting back to New Albany, but Ellie McClellan, she's one of my good friends from New Albany. She is killing it at Notre Dame right now, and Notre Dame is one of the teams on the rise this year within women's lacrosse. So Ellie would be a great person to have. She actually just she broke like the Notre Dame women's lacrosse like run test record. So and that's
Wow.
like and I'm not even surprised because that girl can run. So you should definitely look into having her next. She's a great person.
Awesome. We'll definitely have to reach out and see what she has
Yeah.
to say. But